Throughout time, there have been people with the king's aura, and this is the person who has it now. This is for entertainment purposes only. This short story is only for people over the age of 18.
I found few references in history. In a single line, on a single scroll, from a quiet part of China 1,000 years ago, there was one mention of it. The person didn't become emperor, which seemed rare. From clues, I believe that Narmer, the first pharaoh of Egypt, might have had it. I'd like to think that King Arthur also had it. I've teased you enough. What is it that I'm speaking of? The Greeks had a great name for it, which might have been attributed to Alexander the Great, that I'm stealing. They called it King's Aura. If you want a long, boring story of my childhood and growing up, please don't. My mother was a hairdresser. My father ran a textile company. I have one older sister that would either do anything for me or drop me into the toilet. I grew up with a mind for math. I wasn't the greatest at understanding and doing mathematical equations in college, but was good enough for me to land a job doing simulations for seed growth. My limited contact with people on a day-to-day basis led me to go to the gym and work out often. I was much like the other guys at the gym. There was a handful of sexy women, and they were all taken. I didn't have a great body to compete with the other guys there. I didn't let that stop me. I was sure someday my gut would be worn off and a sexy woman would somehow notice my big brain. If things didn't turn out the way they did, I'm not sure that day would ever have come. I have one hobby other than exercising, and that is butterfly collecting. I do feel guilty about killing them to stick a needle through them and mount them in one of my cases, but they're so pretty. I've been told it is not a manly thing, collecting butterflies. I don't care. I like it. It is like hunting, but not for food, but for beauty. You spot a butterfly, decide if it is worth catching, breed, size, coloration, and then you have to sneak up on them with your net. Then the really tricky part happens when you have to get the butterfly out of the net without hurting the insect. Even then, the beast might fly away before you get it into a jar with alcohol to kill it. The whole process can be very stressful. The king's aura happened when I was out looking for butterflies, and I met a woman bird watching. She saw me when I rounded a trail at the park. As soon as she saw me, she dropped on her knees.
"How may I serve you, my lord?"
she said with her face in the dirt. My mind went into overload, trying to figure out what was going on. I forgot what she told me her name was, but it didn't matter. This woman was in her late 60s and had hair the color of fresh snow. She had wrinkles on her face that were deeper than some water wells. I had no interest in her, and she really was freaking me out a bit. I got her up off her knees, painfully, and had her go on her way. She kept thanking me the whole time for being so kind and generous. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't see anyone else while at the park, and by the time I left, King's aura had worn off. I would have written it off as some old woman having an episode if it didn't happen again weeks later. This time I was in a grocery store. I was halfway down the aisle with toilet paper, and there was a young couple discussing something. The woman looked at me, and her eyes went wide before dropping onto her knees. The man, confused, looked to where she was looking, saw me, and he dropped to his knees. The other people in the aisle were rushing up to me and dropping to their knees. People coming into the aisle saw me and rushed up before abandoning their carts to kneel and bow at my feet. Everyone was saying something to the effect of they would obey me. Absolutely not normal, nervous, and more than freaked out. I told everyone to go about what they were doing. That young couple was different. The man did a quick video showing the world he'd found his Lord and Master and how I was super chill. The woman kissed me, hard, on the mouth, with tongue, while sliding her hand down between my legs. I remember that woman saying,
"I'll do anything you want."
What I wanted was to get the hell out of there. Everyone at the grocery store was acting the same way. I had to command the cashier to charge me for my groceries, like everyone else. I threw my food in my car and sped away. This got the attention of a cop, who pulled me over, and as soon as he got to where he could see me, he dropped his knees and declared me as Lord and Master. That got me out of a ticket. I drove safer and slower back home. My neighbor was out watering his plants, and he just waved a hello to me. King's aura had worn off. This was so strange that I had to start to investigate. I had to weed out all the fantasies, dreams, fiction, and just look for the truth. Even then, what was historical might not be the truth. Was Kamehameha, the first great king of Hawaii, someone with this king's aura? I have no idea. He could have just been a great warrior and diplomat. There's no telling if it only came to men, and there might have been a queen's aura that might have been bestowed on Queen Elizabeth I. I could see Qin Shi Huang using this king's aura to standardize writing, so he didn't have to learn multiple forms. I would be that lazy. The only consistency that I found in the stories about King's aura is that it isn't consistent. It comes at random times. It lasts for random times. Some people walk into court and fall to their knees in worship, while the people behind them come in and are utterly confused. It works on sight and presence, and any command given will be followed. How odd. It wasn't hard to find that the Catholic Church had a big problem with King's aura. No one should kneel before anyone but God. I can respect that. People should obey the word of God, not man. I can also respect that, too. It also showed me that the Catholic Church was in search for an explanation of this king's aura. I saw one poorly scanned letter from Sir Isaac Newton back in 1710, saying he had devoted too much time looking for some demonic force that possessed people to make other people kneel in subjugation. The next time I was hit by this king's aura was when I was at the gym. I had no idea that it had happened. I had no idea it was going to happen. I just found people in an ever-widening circle bowing down to me. By this time, I was prepared. All the guys back to what they were doing. All the women standing at attention. Weed out the too young and too old and ugly and overweight. Separate the married, sending them back to their husbands with a desire to fuck and obey their men. This left me with a handful of women. I made sure they understood they would obey me completely for life. By the time we got to the hotel, my king's aura had worn off. The 6 women that were with me didn't change their actions at all and were eager for me to take them. I took them, all of them, multiple times. I liked the eagerly worshipful looks they gave me while on their knees. So, while engaged with one woman, I had the rest kneeling and eager to please me with their bodies. After a night of wild sex, where those women who had not been even bisexual before faked it really well, they were still obedient to me. From that moment forward, they will always be on call, for whenever I want them. Over the years, the king's aura has manifested in me at all different times. Restaurants, the library, the gym a handful of times, at the beach, which was fun. It came about at random intervals from days apart to weeks, to months between manifestations. It works for a random amount of time from 30 seconds up to 12 hours. In that time span, all will obey me if they see me. If I don't command them in that time, they will go back to normal, with no concern for how they were acting. The range is about 100 meters. Give or take 10 meters for some weird reason. I can give anyone any command, even if it is to fundamentally change their core beliefs, and they will do their best to comply. Where am I at now in my life? I still work for the seed company, but everyone in the building is basically my slave, but live out their lives like they aren't, unless I require something of them. The king's aura does not work through pictures or video. I still go to the gym to work out, but to also pick up some women I might want to spend the night with or have them clean my car. My favorites are Courtney, Dee Cheen, Kadi, Paula, Jean Walu, Anastasia, Deckel, Aline, Lily, and Taiji. Each woman has larger than normal muscles and breasts much, much larger than nature ever intended. Sure, I could have all 10 of these women in bed with me, but that gets crowded. 2 women, maybe 3, at the same time is my limit. They don't mind. They can't mind. I am their king. Why am I putting this out into the world? I want the next person to understand they are not alone. I won't know why they were picked any more than I'll understand why I was picked. If they can figure out how and why and what, then more power to you. Just be a good person. Don't be evil. The king's aura can be used for good or ill. I hope you are a good person. Enjoy being king.
The end. This was a work of fiction. Any similarity between people, living or dead, is purely coincidence. This scenario did not, or should not, have happened in real life. Thank you for listening.